All right, the Tony Award-winning musical Shucked is in Chicago for 2 weeks. We have two of the stars, Jake, who plays Bo, and Mike, who plays Peanut. Thank you both so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having us.
So excited.
I mean, let's just talk a little bit about the shucking contest. I'm surprised that wasn't part of like the audition process.
I know
It was intense.
It's wild.
We showed up and they were like, "You must be really good at it." And no, we're not. We're
Well,
from New York, after all. There's corn in the show. There's not corn in our daily lives very much. So yeah.
Well, the show is set in Cobb County. We're in Cook County, so I feel like this is an appropriate place to be.
It's
that's,
perfect.
That's why they won.
Yeah.
Second City beat us in a corn shucking
They
contest.
they slaughtered us.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Home field advantage.
Yeah. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Them's the breaks, you know.
Exactly. Jake, let's talk a little bit about the concept of the show. It's an original show, original music. A lot of people think it's like the most hysterical thing that they've seen. Talk a little bit about what we're going to see.
It's just so rare these days to have a brand new musical, to have a brand new score, script, characters, plot. Nothing is based off of anything else, completely new. And I think that's like such a privilege these days. You get to go see something and be one of the first audiences to see it. I think that's our main selling point. We on purpose don't say a lot about what happens in the show because we want you to be surprised. We want you to not know these characters. We see on a nightly basis, people come to the theater and they sit back like this. Like, what is this show about? And by the end of the show, they're up on the front of their seats, they're crying, they're laughing, they're drinking. It's such a fun time. And it's just like, it's so rare these days to have an original musical. We're just so privileged.
And you play brothers in the show. Talk a little bit about your relationship and a little bit about.
Oh man, well, so we one of the first days I met this guy. I was like, "There's something about this dude," and we find out we're both twins. We both play the trumpet. We both have sisters who are band teachers. Like, it's just so many different parallels, and it's been such a treat to work with this guy. He's a genius, and it's been really fun to play brothers on stage. So,
Yeah. Our brothers in the show are very similar to how we are as twin brothers in real life.
Yeah.
And I think that you can see that kind of chemistry. The show is just like super special because it's all about community and family. So when you see those relationships on stage, you're going to probably see one that reminds you of somebody, either yourself or someone in your life. And we think Bo and Peanut are a great example of that.
And then we'll talk a little bit about Bo and Maisie. Talk a little bit where we see them at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, so the whole show starts with the wedding. Bo and Maisie are set to be married. In fact, the show starts at their wedding, and then something happens, and the wedding doesn't happen. Screech. Record break. So it's basically everything unfolds from there. There's chaos. There's crisis. There's a problem that the town has never faced before, and so therefore everybody's kind of figuring out how they deal with this crisis through a lot of laughs, through a lot of comedy. But it kind of like shows the overwhelming message is not judging people by their cover, leaning on family, but also taking risks and trusting strangers.
well said.
I want to ask both if you saw it on Broadway, and what would that concept was like? Because obviously, there's some shows where you're like, oh, I did Les Mis in high school, and I've seen it a thousand times. I've done these shows, but kind of walking into brand new. I mean, talk a little bit about that process.
I mean, I saw it, I think, in the first week of previews, and it was a similar thing to what Jake said. Like, I had no idea what it was, and I left the theater just like totally just smiling and misty-eyed, and I was like, this was such a great experience because, like he was saying, like, how often do you get a new story, new music, all these things, and it was such a cool experience, and I was like, man. And you could tell everyone up there was having so much fun and just so connected, and it was such a magical theatrical experience for sure.
When I auditioned for it, it was called Untitled Country Musical, and that's all I knew about it, and that's how little we all knew as an industry. And so when I saw it, I remember thinking, I saw the third preview on Broadway, and it was just absolutely electric in that audience. Yeah. And I remember thinking, what must have been like to see like the third preview of a show like Les Mis or something that went on to be an iconic musical in the canon of musical theater. And it felt like that's what we were having the privilege to do. To see that was a privilege, but to do it and be like, and again, these audiences around the country are going to be the first audiences that ever get to see it. So one of the first audiences. So it's just such a privilege. I think in the years to come, Shucks is going to be really establish its place in musical theater. And you can say you were there when it started.
One of the interesting things, I just came back from New York, and I saw three, comedic shows. Everybody, I kind of, went by myself, so I was just kind of talking to the people around me, and everybody said at each one of those shows, oh, Shucked was the last time it was at the theater. If you haven't seen it, you got to go see it on the tour. Yeah. So even just the impact in New York 2 years later, it's still...
The word of mouth on this show, too, is insane. Like, it just spreads and spreads and spreads, and that's, that's all you need to know, really. I mean, it's people have such a good time, and you can just feel that energy in the theater after the show. It's just everyone is just light, and which I think the world needs a little bit of. So yeah.
Sure.
Anything you're looking forward to doing? You got 2 weeks in Chicago.
Oh man, hot dogs,
Whirly ball.
deep dish,
Whirly
whirly
ball.
ball.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was here 6 years ago with Pretty Woman, and we played Whirly Ball as a cast, and I'll never forget it. I still get emails from Whirly Ball, and I'm coming back, Whirly Ball. I'm coming.
we have to redeem ourselves from that horrible corn shucking contest. So we got to win whirly ball as a cast for sure.
Yeah.
There you go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. BroadwayInChicago.com for those tickets. It's here through January 19th. Go check out the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. Thank you.